Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing some Nightmare on Elm Street inspired nails. I'm using these extra long square full coverage nails. So I buffed the other side. I did not apply a base coat yet. I will do that when I get to that side of the hand. I'm going to start with this hand, and I already buffed and filed and applied base coat. So I'm going to start off mixing a few colors. I want to create a fleshy type tone. So that second color it has more of a pink tone. I know it does look like flesh colored, but I like to mix a pink color, a yellow color, and also a white to create certain skin tones. So here I'm just mixing it up, and I'm going to apply this color to two of the nails, the middle finger and the ring finger, and I do apply 2 coats of each, so I made sure that I made a good amount of color. When it comes to yellows or sometimes mixing certain gel polish brands, it can mess with the curing process. So just in my experience, especially with yellow colors, the yellow tends to chip off sometimes, or it'll wrinkle up. So I'm applying nice thin layers to my nails so I don't have any issues, because I am going to be doing some polygel work on these specific nails, and the last thing I want is any peeling or chipping off of the polish. So the other 2 nails, I'm leaving the thumbnail bare for right now because I'm not sure what I'm doing on it. I'm polishing white. So I'm just applying 1 layer. I'm going to be doing other things over it, but I want a nice base layer there so that any polish I apply over it, I don't have to apply multiple times or multiple layers. And for the index finger, I just went back after the white was cured with a milky sheer white and went over that and cured it. And then I'm putting those nails to the side. I'm going to work on the flesh colored nails for right now. Here I'm just pulling up some inspiration photos. So if you ever watch Nightmare on Elm Street, the first part, there's a scene where Nancy picks up the phone and it's Freddy on the other line, but his tongue goes through the phone. It's kind of gross. I love it. So that is what I'm creating on this nail, basically the phone part. And for that, I want to make it 3D. I'm not gonna draw it as nail art. I want it to stick out some, so I'm using a polygel for that. So I applied a decent size amount of polygel on there. If you apply too little, I recommend starting with a little bit, not too much, but starting with a smaller amount and then working it and adding more if you want to make your design bigger. So I'm just using alcohol as slip solution and molding it out. So during the process of this, it was kind of trial and error. This is my first time doing this specific design using polygel. So there was a few things that I realized along the way I wanted to do differently. So I do go back several times and add more polygel, because originally when I started out with the polygel mold of the phone, it was pretty flat. And as we know, I mean, maybe you know, with the old school phones, the part that you hear from and the part that you talk into kind of sticks out some. I'm hoping this makes sense to y'all, but I go back and I make that stick out more so it can look better and look more 3D. So you will see me go back and forth doing different things throughout the video for this specific design. Again, this is the first time I did it. I had the idea in mind. I just didn't know quite how to execute it. Now I do, trial and error. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer. Now onto the little details. I created a white square in the middle. That is where the numbers for the phone is going to go. And I went over it with a light gray because the phone isn't actually like, the keypad area is sort of an off-white. I didn't want to make it too bright, so I'm using a gray to go over that. For the keypad, because the space was so small, I just had to work in parts, and to make sure that I had enough space for each number, I just created lines going down like you see there. Now I'm going across to create the box for the actual number. So here I want to explain how the phone looks. As you can see, yes, it's sticking out from the nail. It's obviously 3D, but the parts around the keypad, the bottom and the top part of the phone should be sticking out more. And you guys will see that later on when I add more polygel. But the keypad area should be sunken down and the other parts should be popping out a little bit more. And it was throwing me off. I'm like, it looks kind of weird. You know, everything is just flat and that's fine, but I wanted it to stick out more. So I will go back later on and add more polygel to give it the effect that I wanted to. After I did all those little squares and they were actually cured, I went in and drew the numbers. This is obviously a very, very tiny space, so a good amount of the numbers I did off camera. It was just too much for me to lean over on the table and not hit my camera while filming and all of that. So I just made sure I had the nail very close to me and I just had steady hands and not too much polish on my brush. It had to be very thin layer of polish because the numbers are so tiny. But I would do a few and then let the numbers cure and then go back and do the rest. So now I'm going to start with the bottom part of the phone, which is sort of like the bottom of Freddie's mouth, I guess you can say, because obviously the tongue is sticking out of the phone, but also wrapped around the phone is what looks like Freddie's skin texture. So those little burnt spots and stuff. So I'm creating a color. It's like a brownish color. So I'm just mixing up some colors to begin on that part. I'm creating the little potholes or whatever that is in his face that's like it looks red. I actually go back later on and drill it so that it's a little bit more sunken in. But I just wanted to show you guys the process. Like I said, I go back and forth. I add things and do things a little differently throughout the whole process of making this nail. So if something looks a little bit different than it did before, that is because I went back in and did something different. I'm trying to show you guys the whole process, but some things I cut out because then it'll just be a whole video of me making this one nail. So here you see me going back in because then I'm like, this looks off. I'm going in with my nail drill and I'm creating a circle area that is going in. So basically that part that I'm drilling is sinking down some. So there's more of a 3D effect within the phone itself. So this is the part where I realize, nope, I need to add more poly gel to that. I like the effect of drilling that hole in the middle. I liked it, but I need to add more poly gel because that part of the phone needs to stick out more than the keypad. The keypad needs to be more in. So I will add more poly gel to that part. Later on, I do add more poly gel to the sides of it. So just trust the process. Again, trial and error for me. I'm just figuring out how to do this along the way while I'm filming. I'm also going back to that bottom part and drilling the holes where Freddie's mouth is at. Those little potholes he has in his face. Again, I wanted to make those sink in some. So that's what I'm doing here with the drill. I'm sorry, my phone, well, my hands are higher up. Sometimes I forget that I'm actually filming. So that's all I'm doing here to create a more of a 3D effect, like those little potholes are more sunken in. Now I'm going to start working on the tongue part. So I'm just put a blob of polygel there. And because I don't want to cover the bottom part completely, like where Freddie's skin is at, I'm making it so that the tongue is more out to the side. So you see that bottom portion of the phone. I didn't want to cover that up completely. And I also wanted you to see that it was an actual tongue coming out the phone. Here I'm just adding more polygel to the side of the phone. Like I said before, I add polygel to certain areas along the way. So I wanted to add some more to the side. I wanted those portions to stick up the way the top of the phone is around the keypad. So I wanted it to stick out more and have the keypad more inside the phone. So that is what I'm doing there. And then just going back in with that blue color to polish the whole phone. So now I'm finally off to the second nail, and for this nail I'm creating basically the texture of Freddy's face. So he has like a burnt face and it has like holes and this wrinkled texture to it, and it's red and pink. So I just basically Googled an image of Freddy's face and trying to create something that looks similar to his face texture. So for that, I am using my polygel. You can see I created like areas that has holes, and then I just take pieces of polygel and spread it throughout the nail. So basically almost the whole nail has some sort of polygel on it, and then I'm going in after that cures and coloring in all the details. The next nail I'm doing is my pinky nail, and I'm keeping this, I guess, what you would call simple, at least in comparison to everything else I'm gonna do. And that is just creating Freddy's striped shirt. So I'm using this green color, going in with stripes. You can see I'm skipping a block, an area there, because I'm going to go back and polish that red. So I did all the green areas first and let that cure, and then go back in with the red color, and then topped it off with a glossy top coat. For the next nail, I'm going over the white base coat I have with that fleshy tone color. I let that cure, and then I went back over it with a gloss top coat. I'm going to do majority of the nails matte except for certain areas. So I went over with a gloss top coat, and then I let that cure, and then I went back over it with a matte top coat. I do like doing my matte top coats this way. It just makes the nail look more neat. So I'm just writing a nightmare on this nail, and then I'm going to continue it and write on Elm Street on a different nail. So this is the last nail on this hand, and I'm applying that fleshy color over the white base coat I had. So on this nail, I'm just creating some blood drips. I start off with applying some red to the top of the nail, and then bring some drips going down, creating the little ball of blood at the end of the drip with a dotting tool. So after I finished the design, I applied a gloss top coat, and then I applied my matte top coat because I want the matte finish, but I want the blood to be glossy. So after I applied the matte top coat, I went in and applied the gloss top coat only to the red part. So now I'm getting started on the other side. I already did my base coat for these nails, and now I am applying a base color, which is a white to a few of the nails, and then two of the nails I'm going to just go right in with the fleshy color to both of them. For this nail, I'm creating some slashes, so I'm taking my Polygel and just applying some to the nail in a slash formation. I want the slashes to be a little bit 3D. I'm going around the edges and softening them up, kind of blending it into the nail. And I take a knife type tool and just create some slits right in the middle so that I can go in with some red colors and just make it look like some deep slashes. So after I apply a little bit of the color, I applied some matte top coat. Again, I'm doing the same thing with all of the nails except for the nails that are striped. So all of the flesh color nails, I'm doing the same thing where I'm applying a matte top coat, and then I'm going back in with a glossy top coat to all of the blood areas and making that part shiny so that it stands out more. Now I am doing, I believe, my index finger, and I just applied my polygel again and made it so that it is in a square shape. I let that cure, and then I'm going back in with this green color. I'm pretty much just making a street sign that says Elm Street. So polishing it this green color, letting that cure, and then I go back in with a white color and draw Elm Street on it. For the flesh colored part, I applied a matte top coat. For the actual sign, I finished it off with a gloss top coat. For my pinky nail, I'm going to continue the on Elm Street on this nail. So I'm writing the letters with red. I do write all of the letters in red, and then I go back in with a green to retrace elm so that it kind of stands out, because it all just looked like one big word, because I didn't really have much space on this nail. So after I finish writing the letters, again, I go in with a matte top coat, and then I trace the letters with a gloss top coat. Finally, I am on the last nail, which is my thumbnail. And for this nail, I wanted to just create a little drawing of Freddy's gloved hand. I honestly didn't know what to do on his finger. I know I didn't want to do like another like bloody or textured design. So I just tried my best with drawing a photo of his gloved, knifed hand. So I'm going in with that brown color. The first brown color I really wasn't satisfied with, so I went in with a more brownish looking color, and then I just outlined what I drew, and I go back in with that same brown color and kind of blend in the black with it so it creates a little bit of a shadow. Also, Freddy's glove is not brand new. It's not neat and clean. It looks distressed and a little dingy. So I just tried to work that in somehow. And then I just made his little knife fingers at the end of the glove and applied some random blood splatters on it as well. I did go in with a matte top coat like I did all of the other nails, and then after that matte top coat cured, I applied a gloss top coat only to the hand, and I did sprinkle some like on a little blood splatters that were on the nail, and then I was pretty much done with the full set. This is the final look. I love them so much. Honestly, I was too tired at this point to even try them on like I usually do. But you guys can check out my social media for my nails. It's in the description box below, and you guys can see how they look on. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video or found it somewhat helpful. I will see you next time. Bye.